Hi, my name is Doug Ferguson. I'm going to be talking about history of the phonetic language, where it started from, and let's get going on this. The only way that we have knowledge of truth is we attain it from the Word. And if we didn't have the Word, we'd have no technology, no society, no science, no laws, no comprehension of existence, no philosophy, which is to do with science and law, actually. So philosophy is actually to do with those things. So a lot of people don't really know what philosophy is about, but yeah. Philosophy is the basis for science and for laws. No established relationships. Nothing that we take for granted would be without the narrative, the law, the Word. Okay, and the phonetic script is basically a record of the Word. God has given us the Word and His testimony, which is the Bible, for us to know Him and others in the present and the past. And He's also given this phonetic script. We can use it to know all history. Without this language tool, we would be really retarded in our progress as a society, as a civilization, as a world. The testimony of the world would be hidden in oral narratives, which would be lost in the sands of time. We would be clueless, forgetting the meanings of the drawings and caves without the Word. We would not be the masters of the world's domains, but just another animal to go extinct, living by our instinctual lusts. Without the testimony of the Word, we'd be alone. We'd live alone. Alone we'd die, with no hope, no promise, no vision of life. I realize many live in this state even today. They have no vision for life. It's sad, but I'm not going to really talk about that. I understand these thoughts and feelings, but I will not deal with them here. Instead, I will continue to introduce you to the wonders of the world we live in today, from the path we have come down as a people through time to consider the amazing written word and its history. Phonetic script was a breakthrough technology that allowed tremendous development of our society because it increased the idea transfer rate. It made it easier for everybody to learn and everybody to transfer ideas in writing. Get ideas, and this is what the idea transfer rate is. If you have a positive idea transfer rate, the higher it is, the more advanced your society gets. The more freedom of speech you have, the more freedom of ideas and talking, the more advanced you get. And if you retard that or you stop that happening, then your society goes the other direction. And it has gone another direction in the past. So these things happen. This is not a natural progression. There's certain things that make it progress and certain things that make it not progress. The dynamics of the ITR in civilization development is introduced in my first book, Out of the Cave to Become Man. And I talk a lot about other ideas too, but this is one of the ideas I talk about for civilization development, especially in the Mesopotamian area. And I talk why, how you increase the idea transfer rate and so forth. As mentioned in a previous talk on Logos, the precursor for phonetic script was logographic script. And the ITR was less than the phonetic script. You don't have the ideas. That's cuneiform and hieroglyphics and Chinese writing. All these things are slower. You reduce the idea transfer rate, and the phonetic script really increased the idea transfer rate by a lot. Phonetic script allowed all people to know others across time and space, to know the very pronunciations, enunciations, cadence, and even the feeling of the spirit conveyed from the language. When they spoke and they sang, and when they speak nowadays and sing, you can get a lot from phonetic language, even the cadence of the language. When you try to pronounce the words, there's a cadence to the talking that you do. Different words have different cadence to them. How did this come to be, to have this gift of phonetic script? When and how did this phonetic script develop? Who was the one who brought this to us? And well, the oldest phonetic script that they have found is written on rocks, and it was done by a Semitic miner in Egypt, in the Sinai, around 1800. I'm just saying 1800. There's so much controversy on dating everything in history. I'm just going to say 1800 here. This is the script that they found, and it's a Proto-Sinaitic script. And this fellow named Sir Alan Henderson Gardner kind of converted it into Hebrew script, which is right here. This is later, like modern Hebrew script, and it's La Balat, the lady, or Lady Balat. It's a feminine form of Baal, maybe, they figure. And this script here was developed from Egyptian hieroglyphic script, and it's based on 22 consonant sounds. Okay? And there's a Tav, and there's a Lamed, and an Ayin, Bet, and Lamed. Here's another Tav. Here's another Ayin. This looks like a end of a Bet. Here's another Tav. So there's several letters here, but this is the word here they took, and that's the word that they got here. This is where it was found. The mining colony, right, or mining here. There's a little purple. There's a road coming down here. The different names. There's Egypt over here, and this is the Sinai. And here's a blown up here. This is where if you drove there, you'd have to stop here and then walk up here. Here's a temple, the Hathor temple, and it's for Egyptian female bovine deity. And Balet. And here's the Sherbet al-Khadim over here. So you're walking over here. And that's where the cave is, over here. The cave is the Al-Teleba cave, where they found this script. And they also found the name Amenhat in their area. So that's the first pharaoh of the 12th dynasty. 12th dynasty. Yeah. So a clue of what's going on in Egypt at this time, when the gift of phonetic script was given to mankind, has only been recently revealed to us mortals at Tel Ed Daba, which is ancient Avaris, or Ramesses city, and it was excavated by a Professor Manfred Beitak. I don't know if that's probably reckon his name there. He was born in 1940, and his team Australian. He's an Australian and international archaeologist. When excavating the main settlement at Tel Ed Daba in the 70s, they identified 4 early strata which appeared to cover the following historical periods. I'm going to show you that in a bit. And this is taken out of David Rowe book, Lords of Avaris, Random House, Kindle edition. Some say the name Avaris has no meaning in Egyptian. Semka Bovinsky, he has a blog, and he wrote this in his blog. Professor Manfred had been digging at Tel al-Da'ab in, I'm sure I'm messing that up, in Egypt for over 40 years. He has identified it as Avaris, the ancient Hyksos capital. Avaris is smack dab in the middle of the area the Bible calls Goshen, the area where the Israelites lived in prior to the Exodus. The word Avaris means nothing in Egyptian, but in the Torah, Joseph is repeatedly called a Hebrew, Evrei, in the Hebrew language. He is also repeatedly, I probably messed that up, but repeatedly and curiously called Ha-ish, the man. In Exodus or Genesis 39:14, and in another place in Genesis, Joseph is called the man. In other words, the word Avaris may very well be related to Joseph, the Ish Avrei, or Hebrew man. Now, in Hebrew, you put man Hebrew. That's how you say it. But possibly the when it's written down and you do it from left to right, it would be the Ish. It would be the Avrei Ish, which would be simply called in Hebrew. Put differently, the so-called Hyksos capital seemed to be named after Joseph, the Ish Avrei, or if you read it the other way, the Avrei Ish, or the Hebrew man, because Avrei would be the Hebrew part, and the Ish is the man. So I'm sure that Manfred, he saw this word written there, and that's why he called it the city of Avaris, because it was named after it. And here is a part of the statue of a gravestone, basically, in a lot where a guy had a house with in this lot there was 12 tombs, and there's a big house there. I'm not showing that picture right here, but here is the head of the statue that was at the one tomb. It had a kind of a pyramid in it, and the haircut here is a Semitic haircut, and the color of the skin was what they used for Asiatic skin in Egypt. And here's a picture of the statue if it was together, but it was broken up. They got this picture here of it's got a bit of the stick here, shepherd's stick. It's kind of like a boomerang, and you can actually, even in this part here, you can see colors, like a coat of many colors, and I forget the color of the hair was a little different too, but it's a broken statue, and there's reasons for that. And here's a picture of the ancient Egypt. Here's the land of Goshen. Shows here Goshen, and Giza, and Heliopolis, and here's Ramses, which is the city of Avaris, right there. There's a road going down here. This is going to the mine, and different roads here. Entering, you can see here. And David Rowe, he was doing a lot of study on the different these are Scarabs for messages. They'd use them for stamps and so forth, or I'm not sure exactly, but they basically have the name of who had the message here, maybe a pharaoh or whatever, David was using these things because you find those not only in Egypt but in Cana, in different cities in Cana. And here's different shapes of these things from the side profile. These are the same things here, but the side profile, and you can see they're like a bug here. This one's got the little jaggy edges on it. This one's got smooth, so forth. And different hexox kings. And these are, it's got grooved legs, notch legs, plain legs, sandwich profile, triangular head, panels on the flanks, so forth. So in Mabre Sushi, I'm probably saying it wrong here, but he starts with the notch legs and then goes to plain legs in his Scarabs. So when they find these, that would be when he was whatever in that stratum would be when he was important, like a king or whatever, pharaoh running an area. And these were found also besides Egypt in Cana. So he had quite a large domain. Okay, and he had the different. These are different pharaohs or different hexox kings. And here is David rolls from his book Lords of Avaris. He is kind of a conclusion of an understanding of the periods and the stratums. These are the stratums of Dabab stratums here. You've got the H stratum down here, G stratum, F stratum, E3, E2, E1, D3. There's different history, different things you see in each of these. In the stratum H, you see pretty peaceful, things are going pretty great guns, it's really good. And he's got Joseph, and he's got Amenemhat III in the 12th dynasty here. And they've got the word Amenemhat in that mine. It says the first one, but who knows? Everybody's got different dates. And then you have this is where Moses kind of starts living, and you can tell when the graves are different. You start having babies, being lots of baby graves, and people are starting to die younger, and you can tell by the bones that they're malnourished and so forth. So you get in that area, and so that's kind of the graves that you get in this area. And he says that Sobi Haftep the fourth is in here, who's the father of Dudimos. And Dudimos is the one he considers the pharaoh that was the pharaoh during the Exodus. That was the guy that dealt with Moses when he got back. This is the guy that Moses was living when he he grew up, and then when he killed an Egyptian, he ran off into the wilderness for a bit and then came back and dealt with Dudimos. And you can see, and then you have after the fall of Egypt, you have the lesser Hyksos come in, and they just basically walked in, and Shishai was the pharaoh, the Hyksos guy, and you can see here the same guy, this guy, and these are the Scarabs that you can see in Avaris, and you can also see him in Jericho and different cities in Cana. So that's where he kind of ruled and had a lot to do with anyway. So a standard dating of the stratum probably from Danford, who probably dated this, and he had these stratums, and you can see different dates: 1800, 1769, 1739, 1709, 1679. But here you have David Rose dating. You can see that they're different, and they're not all, these ones are all kind of spaced out, kind of even, with 30 years separations in all these. And David Rose doesn't, this is an arbitrary kind of 30-year separation for dates. Whereas David Rose doesn't have that. For stratum H, when Joseph came in, it's he's got it around 1632, and then when Moses grew up, it was he's got the top part here. I guess it doesn't really show the bottom part here, so it doesn't really start the bottom part here, but he's got 1769 versus 1632, so you got more than 100 years difference between the standard and David's dates here. And then he's got 1540, which is 1739. You can see these are all 30 years apart. Well, he doesn't do it like that, and it ends up to be like 100, 200 years difference right there in that. So there's 200 years difference, and so I think this is not when Moses first, this is where they kind of had a very prosperous time, and this is the time here when slavery starts at 1540 to 1447 BC, which is when they left Exodus. And that's the difference between stratum F and stratum G, 1 to 3. You have, and the reason why David Rose, because at this level right here, there is mass graves, and in G3 there's, you can see that people are being enslaved, and there's high baby deaths, and people aren't living as long, and their skeletons are malnourished, and so you can see that in the burial. And then right at this point at 1447 BC, there's actually mass graves where the people are just thrown into graves and left. So and then you have the time when Sushi comes in and just walks into Egypt. This is in 1430. Because they don't have an army anymore, so they just walk in, and that's the Lesser Hyksos time, and it goes up to about E1 here, and then the Philistines, the maritime people, move in, so you get the Greater Hyksos. So you have these are, yeah, they're the more prosperous, a different technology, different culture. So you get a different culture coming in, and they make, there's all sorts of things. You can tell the difference, the way they build things, the way the temples they make, so forth, all that kind of stuff is, and the way they bury, you can see all the differences. That's why these stratums are different stratums. And this is all in, Lords of Avaris by David Rose book. And you can see here it's got 12, Dynasty 12 and Dynasty 13. And then you have in here Dynasty 14 and Dynasty 15. And here is the different languages here. You got the Proto-Sinaitic, and you can see here's Aleph, which looks like an ox head, and here is Bet, which is like a house, and Gimel, which is like it's supposed to be like a camel, I guess, and a dalet, which is like a fish, and hey, which is hey, reveal. Yeah. It's like a man saying, hey, touchdown, or something. And here is vav, which is a nail, and see here, I think that's, well, this is like a ladder. This is, like sin. And then you have tav here, and rish is a head, and it looks like a P. And here's Greek writing here. You see, you've got the alpha, and here's omega, which is a vowel, which is, oh, it comes off here. What's it? Samek. Oh no, that's ion, which is like an I. It's just interesting. And here's the lamed, or L, your L shape. And you can see here's E, which is a hey. You can see there, and there. Turn this way and then turn around. And the vav kind of gets an F sound. Vav. So, I'm not really super on my letters, so I can't really tell you all. Here's mem. You can see mem here. Looks like waves. And here is noon. Looks like kind of a snake. It's supposed to be life too. Nesh. And that's the end. And here's the M. L. Kuf. Or I think that might be Kuf. Anyway. Here's the letters of the alphabet here for Hebrew. 22 letters. You got Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, which doesn't look anything like the proto. Vav, which is like a nail or upright man. And Zion, I forget what it's supposed to mean. Het and Tet. I think that's snake. Yod is a hand, which is the 10th letter. Kaf Safet. Lamed is the shepherd's staff. Mem is the waves. Doesn't really look like a wave there. This is the cursor character. Mem Safet. Noon. Which, anyway. And Samak. Ayin, which doesn't really look like, it looks more like an I in cursive. Pei Safet. Zadik, which is the righteous. I'm not sure. Anyway, it doesn't look. Let's see here. I wonder what it looks like in. See if we can get. There's iron. Okay, so we got iron, pei. Pei is like face. Yeah, so iron, pei. I don't know if that's a face, but is that Zadik? Okay, so maybe that's supposed to be Zadik, righteous. But here's Rish, Shin, which is teeth kind of thing, or chaos, and Tav, which is covenant. Kind of what that means. In Greek, they took some of the letters and added a few, like got some vowels in here. In Greek, I got to learn up my Greek, alpha and omega, and there's delta, there's delta, like a delta triangle, and it's got some of the fine letters. It tells the letters underneath here. You can't really see it. I have a hard time seeing them. So, yeah, that's Zadik, which is supposed to be righteous, and Pei, which is face, and Ayin, And that's Dune. Which one is that one? Okay, we're just having fun with the letters now. Samek. Anyway, it's really fun to learn the different meanings of the different letters. They're, from their original meanings to what they developed out of the hieroglyphics. But and the Hebrews turned them into. I'm not familiar with every one of them. I have to really get up on that, but maybe you get into that. Anyway, that's basically all I wanted to talk about. How, one other thing is that David Rowe really thinks that it might be actually Joseph who was the first, because he was a really brilliant guy. Might have been the first guy that actually created the Proto-Sinaitic script. Maybe he wasn't the miner there, but he was he was a slave for a while, and so he might have been the guy. He was definitely very brilliant. There's many things that there's a canal that was made by Joseph. It's still called Joseph Joseph Canal, and it went to a lake. It might be over here. Doesn't show it on this map, but to help with the flow of the Nile River for the famine time. There's quite a story with David Rowe has a different take on that too, which I think is probably right. And which is it's totally different than what most people would think. You really have to look at that guy. I might talk about it later, but I just thought I'd just present this, and I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's probably a little confusing. It's a pretty complex subject, and I haven't really presented it before. So I hope that you endured it, and if you did, thank goodness. I hope you got something out of it. I hope I blessed you in some way, and may God's peace be with you, and have praise God every day, and just have a good life. I pray for you. Amen.